Well, there are growing concerns that crucial U.S. national security decisions, including announcements on the war with Iran, are the subject of gambling on so-called prediction markets. There's this new report out from the Washington Post Intelligence that details massive bets that coincided with critical announcements on the Iran war. CNN asked the White House about a memo that warned employees on the guidelines for using prediction markets, citing press reports about wagers being placed. A White House spokesman replied in a statement saying, quote, "All federal employees are subject to government ethics guidelines that prohibit the use or non-public information for financial benefit. However, any implication that administration officials are engaged in such activity without evidence is baseless and irresponsible reporting." I want to bring in Josh Rogin, lead global security analyst for Washington Post Intelligence. Josh, you just wrote this piece, and you really looked at trades in oil futures and prediction markets right before we got these big announcements on the Iran war. What did you find?
Right. Well, Pamela, there are two sets of alleged insider trading patterns here. One is, as you said, in the prediction markets, poly market, Kalshi, where just before the raid on Venezuela, just before the attacks on Iran, people made hundreds of thousands of dollars by correctly predicting those events. And a couple of those people have been charged, including one U.S. Army sergeant who made $400,000 by betting on the Maduro raid. Much larger in the futures markets, billions of dollars are being put at stake betting on oil futures 15 minutes before President Trump will tweet something about a ceasefire or a pause in the attacks on Iran that will send oil markets way, way down. So that's a order of magnitude larger, and that means hundreds of millions of dollars are being moved within tiny windows to predict events that happen minutes later. And it's very hard to see how that could be a coincidence. Now, that's the subject of congressional investigations and federal investigations. We don't know who's doing it, but whoever did it is either the luckiest person on earth 4 times in a row, or they have some inside information, which means that those are insider trading actions that would be illegal.
Yeah, and it's interesting because with the stock market, usually on some of these trades, you've had a lot of money, right, to be engaged. But then there's these prediction markets, right? So walk us through how these prediction markets work and how investigators can determine who's behind some of these coincidentally or strategically timed bets.
Sure. Well, it's kind of the Wild West in the sense that if you're betting on prediction markets, especially the ones that aren't based inside the United States, it's very hard to know who are the people doing the bets and what are the methods for holding them accountable. If you're betting on American markets, then there's more ability for federal law enforcement to pursue those cases. But in essence, those cases aren't proceeding for a couple of reasons. The regulations are unclear. The enforcement teams at the SEC and the CFTC, which monitor these things, and the DOJ Public Integrity Section have been greatly reduced in size and investigation since the Trump administration returned to office. And that's why Congress are calling for more legislative fixes to make it illegal for federal workers who have inside information to bet on these markets, executive branch officials, members of Congress, their staffers, their families. There's a large number of people who have inside information in Washington and beyond who could not only make money off those markets, but also influence national security decisions at the same time and even wag the dog. So the potential for a national security catastrophe in that kind of vacuum is really, really significant. And Congress is on the case, federal agencies are looking into it, but it's just too new and too unknown for anyone to say that anyone's really on top of it at this point.
Yeah, and I think you make a clear case for the national security implications as well. It's not just people potentially enriching themselves on this.
Of course, because when the markets go up, and then the enemies could see that, then they know the attack is coming. So it could really put troops in harm's way.
Yeah, I think that's an important note for sure. Just quickly, tell us a little bit more about what lawmakers are doing and sort of the reaction to these markets and trades.
Sure. So to its credit, the White House sent out a letter to its staffers that they're not allowed to bet on inside information in these markets. They shouldn't be allowed anyway, but anyway, they reinforced that. In Congress, there are a number of laws to make it illegal for anyone who has inside information to bet on these markets, to increase the enforcement powers, to increase the visibility and transparency, and essentially to legislate regulation on these markets. And now that's being fought, in a sense, by the Trump administration, which is defending these markets in a number of different venues. And it's probably not a coincidence that senior Trump family members are on the advisory boards of Polymarket and Kalshi. And that's not an accusation, it's just a fact. So when you look at that oversight picture, you have to understand that There's a lot of people in Congress who want to legislate on this. It's probably not going to happen until after the midterms. And until that time, we kind of have a situation where these markets are policing themselves, and it's not going very well.
Well, Josh Rogin, you just laid it all out very well. Thank you so much for bringing us your reporting. And an important note on this story, CNN has a partnership with the prediction market platform Kalshi and uses its data to cover major events, but editorial employees are prohibited from participating in prediction markets. Wolf?